Good afternoon, Acting Superintendent Beaudin. I'm Hatim Kheir. I represent the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Am I correct in thinking that negotiation is one of the tools that police have available to them when responding to a demonstration of civil disobedience?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, it's a tool that police should be using and prioritizing?
I believe in it, yes.
And you talked about a measured approach. We've heard a lot about that today. Helping me out from a civilian perspective, is it fair to say that a measured approach is a strategy that leads with negotiation and then escalates to enforcement as necessary?
Yeah, hopefully getting that compliance, right? Like obviously people want to be heard, right? I think we've heard that a lot throughout this incident, and ultimately if there's opportunities to have them heard while ensuring lawful, peaceful, safe protest, that's obviously what we're trying to achieve, right?
And you'd agree that had a measured approach been implemented, the protest could have been ended much sooner?
I do.
We heard earlier about a proposal where a meeting with federal politicians would be offered, and then in exchange, leaders would tell protesters to leave and denounce unlawful behavior, right?
Yes, sir.
And this plan, if implemented, do you think it could have reduced the footprint of the protest?
I think so, yeah. I think people probably would have hopped in there. Like I said before, I talked to Mike Acton, who I believe and trust in his craft, and he had said with Tom Marazzo, he thought 60% of people would be following Tom Marazzo.
And so placing that within the larger strategic goals, reducing the footprint would then reduce some of the challenges faced by officers undertaking enforcement efforts?
Yes, sir.
And so then therefore it would have reduced perhaps the need for the numbers of officers in engaging in enforcement efforts?
Yes, sir.
And would you also agree that it would have reduced the need for enforcement itself to the extent that each protester who leaves voluntarily is one less protester who has to be taken away by force?
Yeah, the more people that end up leaving an unlawful, unpeaceful, unsafe event, the better off it is for a police intervention, for sure, right?
And, looking back at what actually happened, would you agree that negotiation was a tool that was actually underutilized in the response?
I thought there's missed opportunities there. When I walked into rooms and there was several PLT people sitting in a room, I felt they should, I think I said this earlier, right? They should probably be out speaking to people and trying to find the sentiment of on-ground conversations, what's going on, how do we manage people from moving, getting out of different areas.
And to the extent that negotiations did actually take place, would you agree that they were undermined by misguided enforcement efforts? For example, the incident at Coventry Road?
Coventry Road, we definitely had a miscommunication issue, and in my professional opinion, I think, had we have had some sort of structure in place, that probably would have been avoided. But that being said, to talk about Confederation Park, that was a negotiation that went extremely well, and people ended up leaving as a result of their respect for the Algonquin Nation.
And within this this measured approach strategy, part of the idea is that smaller concessions are then the foundation to build up to larger concessions?
Yeah, hopefully, right? There's also the ability to ask for large concessions right away, right? Hey, time to move everyone here, or time for this to happen, or whatever. There's opportunities for wins along the way that are small for everyone. And then obviously it provides you an opportunity to look at the outcome and the leadership and the resolve of the group and who's willing to work and who's willing to not work, right? And who's defiant or whatever. But ultimately, yeah, the more opportunities for engagement and testing that trust and building it, the better off at the end.
And would you agree that the failure to properly engage with protesters, including some of the missed opportunities you talk about, led to an unnecessarily heavy-handed enforcement measures after the federal declaration of emergency?
I think when you look at how professional the officers were that did public order, right? No one was running in. I think that it wasn't heavy-handed in any way. It was an ability to respond to the numbers in front of them that actually were overwhelming, right, as a result of the scope, the scale, size of the protest. And when you look at it, I don't think it was heavy-handed. I think it was very professionally done from a policing tactical perspective, where you have very clear messaging before, very clear messaging during. And I was a little bit disappointed in a sense that many people wanted to come out and intervene with police when they're trying to clear streets, knowing that that was the outcome.
Commissioner, I see I'm out of time. If I could just ask one more question?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. But just in terms of those numbers of people that were still there and willing to then face the police, you'd agree that had negotiations up to that point been handled differently, that number could have been smaller?
It could have been smaller, yes.
And that situation could have been different?
It could have been, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.